Good morning.
Good morning.
It's cool outside. We're not burning up. You should be extremely happy about that. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
The audience was awed when this world-famous violinist announced before the concert he'd be playing one of the world's most expensive violins. His composition was played brilliantly. The master violinist played the number without one mistake. And the audience was just thrilled with the performance. Then the musician took the instrument and smashed it on the floor. Wood and strings and spinners flew everywhere. The audience was shocked and assumed that the violinist had just gone totally mad at that moment. Until he explained that the violin he had just destroyed was a cheap imitation. And then he picked up the expensive violin and began to play again. Amazingly, most people couldn't tell the difference, which was the expensive and which was the cheap. The quality of the instrument was secondary to the skills of the master. And so it is with most of us who would live a good life. The beauty of a kind deed does not rely on the physical, financial, or social well-being of the individual who performs it. The master can take ordinary instruments like you and me and produce beautiful music in our lives if we allow it. Good deeds done in humility come from a heavenly wisdom. So how can you tell if someone's living a good life? Look at the people who surround him or her. Are those people smiling? Are they happy? Are they content? And then live richer lives because of their friendship. You know, how is it with you? After your friends have spent some time with you in the evening and they leave, do you come away feeling better about yourself? Have your spirits been lifted because of your association with them? Have your thoughts been elevated because of the time and the fellowship you shared together? Have the words you've spoken improved the quality of their lives? And to what influences do you expose your life? Who's playing the strings on your hearts? With that wisdom, are you filling your minds? You see, the quality of our lives depends upon the source of our wisdom. Are we influenced and led by the wisdom that comes down from heaven? Or the message that is earthly, unspiritual, and of the devil? You and I become what we focus our minds on, what we expose ourselves to daily. Our hours of listening to inspirational messages will engender a pure, peace-loving, considerate personality. Hours of exposure to trash-talking lyrics on the radio or degrading images on television will diminish our souls and arouse hostility and selfish ambition within us. And violent entertainment, when it leads to violent acts, also encourages depression. And did you know that repeated exposure to horror movies lowers your immune system? Maybe that's why medical studies have shown that people who worship regularly and have spiritual values recover more quickly from illness and live long. To what do you expose your life each day? In the hands of the master, even the most indigent, the least attractive, the most inept of us can produce a symphony of peace and kindness, a harvest of righteousness. Our service is not so much dependent on us as it is on him. But how tempted we are to think that wealth will bring us happiness. We resent when it's a fellow worker seems to earn more than we do. We study the stock market, we watch our bank accounts, we shop mindfully are mindlessly and accumulate more and more stuff, cluttering our minds and our closets. We teach our children to save their money, but not their souls. We look at our Hollywood idols and come away with the wrong lesson most of the time. Take a look at behind the doors of huge mansions, and you'll find souls more desperate than you and I will ever be. Many of the men and women who are lost in addictions, filled with anxiety, deluded by bigotry, filled with envy and selfish ambition, and are searching for meaning that they can't find. When we happen to hear those few who express gratitude to God, we're impressed by it, and even faintly surprised. Yet the beauty of that testimony is nothing more than what you and I are capable of expounding. When we witness one of them committing a kind deed, we're touched. But you and I, when we are working the service of our Lord, can respond in this way daily. So that Margaret Sangster, a social worker, told about a young boy in an urban ghetto who had been struck by a car when he was young and hadn't received proper medical attention. So his legs were twisted and lame. And even though it was outside her area of responsibility, she took the boy to an orthopedist. And he performed surgery to correct his legs. And 2 years later, that boy walked into her office with complete recovery, not even a limp. No crutches, no braces. The two of them embraced, and Margaret Sangster said to herself, "If I accomplish nothing else in my life, I have made a real difference with at least this one." But she paused in telling her story. Then she went on. This is several years ago. She says, "Where do you think that boy is today?" The audience who were listening to her suggested that maybe he was a school teacher, a physician, or a social worker like her. With tears of emotion, Margaret responded, "No, he's not. He's in a penitentiary for one of the foulest crimes a human can commit. I was instrumental in teaching him how to walk again, but there was no one to teach him where to walk." This is what happens when you teach our children that competition is more important than compassion. That charisma produces more influence than character. You know, long ago and long gone is the teaching of virtue in our public school classrooms. The only place our children are going to hear about the values of honesty and sincerity and kindness, even peacemaking and forgiveness, is in a Sunday school most days. Either from you or their grandparents or their parents, their aunts and uncles. Because of a few exceptions, they're not going to hear it from their coaches or their teachers or their iPods. James speaks of the wisdom that is earthly, unspiritual, and of the devil. It is a wisdom that is spoken around us daily. That who we are depends on what we have. And that happiness consists of having more and more. That our human worth is defined by our net worth. And that I'll feel better about myself as soon as I feel better about my checkbook. There is nothing new about this way of living. It has been a nature of men and women since history began. Only a few are able to see through the delusion. Some of you will realize the falseness of this path. Well, I hope that somewhere all of you will. Thousands of years ago, Jeremiah shouted the warning, "How can you say we are wise? From the least to the greatest, all are greedy for gain. Are they ashamed of their loathsome conduct? No, they have no shame at all. They do not even know how to blush. So they will fall among the fallen. They will be brought down when they're punished, says the Lord. The wisdom of the world is a path to envy, to greed, to selfish ambition. And we need to fight daily to prevent ourselves from falling into the clever copyright of consumerism, whose evangelicalism is advertising, whose church is the mall, whose values are appearance and affluence. You know, listen to the voices of heavenly wisdom that whisper to us, do not give your hearts to that which does not satisfy your heart. The desire for possessions is dangerous, knowing no sanctity. It drives the soul, which it controls, to the heights of evil. You know, we need to do an inventory of our values. What is the ultimate importance to you? To find out, look at another book. It's a book that is much shorter. It's a book that you have written. Take a look at a shorter book. It's called your checkbook. Jesus said in Matthew 6:21, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If you want to find out your God, look into your checkbook. You'll find him in intimate detail. Who is wise and understanding among you? That depends on where you are looking for your inspiration. Who is producing the message that guides you? What composure is playing on the strings of your heart, the temporal of your soul? You look at your friendships among positive people who value compassion more than possessions. You listen to the music that fills you with peace and composure. Let your speech be filled with gratitude for what you have, not with complaints for what you lack. The good life is accomplished when you and I put ourselves in the hands of the Master, who can take the most ordinary of us and produce beauty and elegance and grace. The Master took a violin, a cheap violin, and he played it. And he couldn't tell the difference between the cheap and the expensive, because it wasn't the instrument, it was the Master's hands. Well, it was battered and scarred, and the auctioneer felt it was hardly worth his while to waste much time on the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. Well, it sure ain't much, but it's all we got left. I guess we ought to sell it too. Oh, who will give me bid on this old violin? Just one more and we'll be through. And then he cried, one, give me $1. Who'll make it two? Only $2, who'll make it three? $3 twice, now that's a good price. Who's got a bid for me? Raise up your hand now, don't wait any longer. The auction's about to end. Who's got four, just $1 more to bid on this old violin? Well, the air was hot and the people stood around. The sun was setting low. From the back of the crowd, a gray-haired man came forward and picked up the bow. He wiped the dust from the old violin and tightened down the strings. And then he played of a melody pure and sweet, sweeter than the angels sing. And when the music stopped and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, he said, what'll you bid for this old violin? And he held it up with a bow. And then he cried, one, give me 1,000, who'll make it two? Only 2,000, who'll make it three? 3,000 twice, now that's a good price. Who's got a bid for me? And the people cried out, what made the change? We don't understand. Then the auctioneer stopped and he said with a smile, it was a touch of the Master's hand. You know there's many a man with his life out of tune, battered and scarred by sin. And he's auction chief to a thankless world, much like that old violin. But when the master comes and the old foolish crowd, they never understand the worth of a soul and the change that is won just by the touch of the master's hand. And then he cried, one, give me 1,000, who'll make it 2? Give me 2,000, who'll make it 3? 3,000 twice, now that's a good price. Now who's got a bid for me? And the people cried out, what made the change? We don't understand. Then the auctioneer stopped, and he said with a smile, it was a touch of the master's hand.